More insights, and to discuss this further, we're joined by political analyst Bolu Michael-Biyi, who joins me live from Manzini, Swatini. Bolu, it's wonderful to have you join us on the program. Now, what evidence do you think that the IPC would have to cite, that the IPC have cited to characterize the situation in Gaza as worst-case scenario or famine? And how does it compare to international famine thresholds?
All right, thank you very much for having me. The IPC is a UN organization. It's a UN-backed food security body. And they're saying that, the situation in Gaza is really critical, and they're now experiencing serious famine conditions. This organization, they use data from local partners on hunger levels, and also food access, and they consider the death rate as well. So they have certain threshold. I mean, three major threshold. They at least 20% of households must be experiencing small extreme food shortages, and at least 30% of children as well must be suffering from acute malnutrition. And I think there must have been at least 2 hunger-related deaths for every 10,000 persons, per day. And when you look at the situation in Gaza right now, it not only meets this criteria, it exceeds this threshold as well, especially in the northern region where aid doesn't really get to. So I think they're right to claim that the Gaza is experiencing extreme famine conditions based on their famine threshold.
What are the specific impacts of, just for the sake of our viewers and for posterity's sake, what would then be the impacts of prolonged hunger and malnutrition on vulnerable groups, especially children and pregnant women, as well as elderlies in Gaza?
Let's start with the children, because they're facing malnutrition, definitely they'll be experiencing what's called stunted growth. And it's going to affect their, brain development. They're going to be having brain development problems. They also stand at a higher risk of infection and deaths as it relates to minor illnesses, things like as small as flu and all that can actually lead to death. In such kind of population. For the pregnant women, of course, they'll be experiencing increased miscarriages. Because they are not feeding well, they are not, because whatever the mother eats, the baby eats as well. So when the mother is not eating well, the baby is not going to be healthy, and that might lead to a level of, increased risk of miscarriage. And the babies born as well might be underweight, and they might be experiencing some form of a complication because the babies will not be healthy. For the elderly, they naturally have a weakened immune system. Now, being in that kind of terrible situation means that they'll be having a more weakened, a weaker immune system to fight infection and diseases, and they'll be declining fast due to lack of nutrients and medicines. So people are dying in their numbers in that part of the world in Gaza, and it's very important for Israel to begin to put humanitarian factors into consideration and help save civilian lives.
Now, we've seen the likes of Keir Starmer and also France saying that if nothing is done in terms of the hunger, starvation, and of course the situation in Gaza relating to Israel, that the country, and that's UK and France, will join 139 more countries to now regard the Palestine as a state. Where do you see this heading in terms of resolution? Would this spur the Israel to do more in terms of ceasefire, or even allow more access to independent media, but most importantly to aid in that area?
Okay, as we know, Israel is the country that is controlling the delivery of aid into Gaza, because they feel that if they don't manage it, then it might get to the hands of the opposition, the opponents, Hamas, and the rest of that. The UN as well, they are not the one controlling the aid, and they want to take control of it. But Israel is now agreeing. So the UK recognizing Palestine would be a symbolic and a powerful move. Right now about 139 countries have recognized the Palestinian state, and France has said that they're going to join, in the next UN meeting that they'll be having. And Keir Starmer, the UK Prime Minister, has said the same thing too. So this situation, if it happens, is symbolic and powerful and pressure other Western countries like Germany and Australia to follow suit. Israel may also feel a level of may feel isolated diplomatically if more countries begin to recognize Palestine as a state. So this could actually push Israel towards a ceasefire or having peace talks, and the increased tension between the UK and the Israeli government. UK and US, they kind of align in a lot of ways. They're usually aligned. It could also pit the UK against the United States as well. So such a move, in the upcoming UN summit may actually influence the United Nations decision in September, and the broader Middle East diplomacy may be influenced as well. So I think it's a very symbolic and powerful move if it happens.
Right, but we know that Israel's foreign minister has firmly rejected growing international calls for a ceasefire in Gaza and the recognition of a Palestinian state. And so, with the UNGA, which is the United Nations General Assembly, the meetings coming up in September, we know that most of the foreign leaders will be there, all the heads of states will be there. Do you see a two-state solution happening, at least just ahead of September, or do you still see a continued a strong stance in Gaza?
Well, yes, I feel like a lot of countries have made up their mind. The UK right now is giving Israel certain conditions, and France is also giving an ultimatum as well. So I feel like not much would change, because we have just a couple of weeks to September, and it takes time for these things for countries to reach a resolution or a decision. They might need more time to change their stance. It might go through a lot of diplomatic meetings or conversations within the cabinet and things like that. Some may have to go through parliamentary resolutions and all, and this thing take time. I don't think much will change between now and September. However, I would want Israel to kind of put humanitarian factors into consideration and actually help the people in Gaza and ensure that aid gets to the right places, especially in the northern region.
We wait to see how this will play out. I want to say thank you so much, Bolu, for joining us. Bolu, Michael-Biyi, foreign affairs analyst, joining us live from Swatini.